Are you lucky or unlucky? Are you successful or unsuccessful? Do you see yourself as intelligent or stupid? What narratives do you hold about yourself? And fundamentally, do you believe in extraordinary? And do you believe you can be extraordinary? Hi, I'm Hattie Volker from Find Your True Voice, and you're listening to the Courageous Performer podcast. And a couple of weeks ago, I was in Italy and coming to you from my holiday there. Now I am in the south of France on a singing holiday. So if you hear some lovely voices behind me, that's what that's about. The Courageous Performer podcast is a podcast designed to help you feel more comfortable and confident in front of any audience. And for today's purposes, help you define your story, because you can't control what happens in your life. But you can actually control the narrative you hold about your life and how it impacts your performing. So take a think about this. When you wake up in the morning, are you expecting things to go well or badly? Are you expecting the day to be a good or a bad day? Or does it depend on what happens? Because a lot of us believe that what happens outside of us is what determines how we feel. But the more life coaching I've done, the more I've realized that whilst what happens outside me can impact how I feel, my mindset and the way I approach all of this will determine what impact it really has on me. Let me give you an example. The other day, when I was coming back from Italy, my flight got cancelled. And I know that 10 years ago, that would have thrown me for a loop, and I would have panicked and worried about it and possibly rung up the airline and got cross with them. What I noticed this time was I now define myself as someone to whom extraordinary things happen, amazing things can happen, and I look for the benefit in everything. Now, that's not to say I don't acknowledge when things go badly or when bad things happen to me, because bad things happen to me and things go badly for me all the time. What it is, it's more about how I process that, because I think it's really important to acknowledge when things go badly or bad things happen to you, and pretending that they didn't happen is skipping a step and can actually cause all sorts of problems. What I'm talking about today is whether that becomes the story of your life, whether that bad things happen to you all the time, or that you can't perform, or that you get nervous, becomes how you define who you are, or whether you can keep it as an experience or as an event that happened in your life. And if you struggle to do the latter, if you struggle to keep it as an event, how you can change that. And really, it's a process of building neural pathways. And neural pathways are very similar to footpaths in the fact that the more you use a neural pathway, the easier it is to use that neural pathway. But the age-old phrase is that neurons that fire together wire together, and they build myelin around them, which is this wonderful fatty sheath that goes around the axons, I think. And the more you use the pathway, the thicker the myelin gets, and the thicker the myelin is, the more likely it is that you will use that pathway. Equally, the less you use a neural pathway, the thinner the myelin gets, and the thinner the myelin gets, the less likely it is you will use that pathway. Now, you may have got into habits trying to protect yourself, predicting the negative. It's definitely important to look out for things that go wrong, but predicting that negative things are going to happen and having some certainty about that will make it harder for you to perform with freedom and confidence. If you stand at the edge of the stage just thinking about all the things that will go wrong, you'll get tenser and you'll feel more nervous, and you'll make it more likely that things will go wrong. If you stand at the edge of the stage thinking about what you want to go right, what you want to communicate, that doesn't mean things won't go wrong or that you'll be unaware of what could go wrong, but you'll feel more upbeat about it. If you're somebody who tends to do the former, predict the negative, that's the neural pathway you have been building. So now it's a question of how do you start walking down another footpath. So I said neural pathways are like footpaths. If you think of a footpath that's been well worn, it's easy to walk down. The footpath is clear. And if you think of a path that hasn't been formed at all, there might be nettles and brambles, and it might be really hard to walk down that path. But the more you walk down that new path, the easier it will be to walk down it. And the less you use the old footpath, the more it grows over with nettles and brambles. The same happens in your head. So that first phase for changing the narrative you might hold about yourself is to start to generate a new narrative. Stand at the edge of the stage, thinking about the positives you want to get from it, thinking about what you want to give the audience, the message you want to convey, deliberately doing that, and not making space for all those worries to come in, acknowledging those worries exist. I'm all for acknowledging those worries exist, but not making them your story. What do I mean, not making them your story? Not feeling like it's a certainty that it's going to happen because you happen to be an unlucky person. You get to define the sort of person you are. I think there was this Darren Brown experiment once where they chose people who felt they were lucky or unlucky, and the unlucky person didn't see opportunities that were right in front of them. So they took the people who thought they were unlucky and they put opportunities right in front of them. And because of the way they defined themselves, they didn't see those opportunities. If you start to redefine yourself as someone who will be successful, as somebody who will get great things out of life, you'll start looking for that success and you'll start looking for those great things. And it's amazing what you look for in life, you will get. So you are able to define your narrative. You are able to not control what happens in your life, but to control the meaning you give to it. That was an awful experience. So now what do I want to do with that experience? You can't change that you had that experience, but you can change how you use that information. I know a performer who's a really, really top performer, and they record all their performances. They have no insecurity about their performing. They know they're good. So it's not about being insecure. It's about where do they find the benefit? Where can they improve even more? So it's looking at increasing their successes. And you can do the same in your performances. You can think about, not that something went wrong, but you'd like for that to go better next time. So how do you use that information to make it better? Define yourself as somebody who learns from the things that don't go as you want them to go, not as someone for whom things always go wrong. And can you see how those two different narratives feel and will make you feel as a performer? So you can be extraordinary. If you believe you can be extraordinary, if you believe you are extraordinary, and I know this sounds insane because it's like having everyone better than average, and it's not possible. But everybody is extraordinary in their own way. Everyone is different from the ordinary in their own way. So work out what your genius is, because the etymology of genius is inner light or inner spirit, which means we all have it. And it's a question of working out what your extraordinary is. If you define yourself as not being better than everybody else, but being extraordinary in your own way, looking for your point of genius, your inner spirit, you will start to look for that and see what it is that is your genius. I really hope this has helped you understand that you can create your story. You can't change the things that happen to you, but you can change the meaning that you give to them. And stand at the edge of the stage, try this out, and try and change the narrative in your head if you've got a negative narrative. Not to, it's all going to be wonderful, but I want to get so much from this experience. And you will find that you will suck so much juice and information from it that it will be amazing. I'm Hattie Volker from Find Your True Voice. If you found this useful and you feel like you'd like more support with this, then get in touch with me at hattie@findyourtruevoice.co.uk. That's HATTIE@findyourtruevoice.co.uk. This is the Courageous Performer podcast. Thank you for listening.